Merry Meet, Annie here. I want to talk a bit tonight about lineage, our uplines, where we come from. I've had reason to think about that a bit recently. I had a couple emails from kind of out of nowhere with strangers asking me to chant my lineage to them. They knew that I referenced in my videos my good fortune and having been part of the traditional community for many years early in my life. Now those of you who are regular viewers of my channel know that I do not represent myself as that. I represent myself as one witch making her way as best as she can in contemporary Wiccan community. But they didn't know that about me. They misunderstood that I represent myself as one of them at this point in my life, and I do not. However, I will always appreciate where I came from, how it influenced me. It saved my life and it formed my life. All that's really not what the subject of this is about, but I wanted to share what got me thinking about lineage. It's been over 25 years since I've had contact with that community. It doesn't mean that I no longer have an upline, that I no longer have lineage. It doesn't mean that any of us are without that if we're not currently part of a traditional community. It really made me think. I did a lot of journaling. I even did a personal ritual to meditate on this. Not surprisingly, to those of you who are part of Season of the Seeker, you know how much time we spend at the beginning, at the foundation level of that, honoring where we came from, who influenced us, who taught us, who inspired us by their actions or their words. Perhaps their actions inspired us to do something differently than they did, or perhaps we accepted and welcomed their advice and their wisdom into our life. They, in turn, were influenced by those who came before them. Each of us, and this is where I landed, each of us has an upline. The thing is, we need to acknowledge it. We need to do the work of knowing where we came from. In doing that, we are understanding ourselves much more powerfully. We're some of all those parts. All those parts were part of the sum of parts from before that. You catch my drift? If my grandmother shared wisdom, very often, she was sharing the wisdom of her mother or her grandmother, and her mother or grandmother before her. The knowledge that we receive that comes to us from others has a history to it, especially if it was something impactful to us, indicating some aspect of wisdom on behalf of the person who, knowingly or not, inspired us and moved us. That came from someplace in them. It came from someplace in the person that they received it from. So that's where my ponderings took me. I can chant a lineage outside of the one I cherish of my traditional experience as a young Wiccan. But there's a wider picture of that I see now in a contemporary setting as the woman I have become in relation to my gods, to my practice, to my life and every aspect of it. If you are a solitary practitioner, and almost everyone who watches my videos is, think about your upline. Think where you came from. It might not be, it won't just be a matter of blood. Some of us don't even know by blood where we came from. We may not be members of the family that we belong to genetically. But whether it's an upline of history through our family, whether it is a upline through those who have taught us, there is still the feeling of how it got here and where it goes from here. We're not the end of it. We are part of a line in the way that we live, by illustration, in what we share with others. We pass on what has come to us. That, for the solitary practitioner, is a way to chant our lineage. Do you know where you came from? Do you know all of the people and all of their wisdom that is part of you? No, you can't know it all. But you can honor as much of it as you can. You can take upon yourself declaring who are the people that you embrace in your soul, that you know have impacted and changed you, and you can honor. They are the result of who came before them, who did the same thing for them. None of us are outside the possibility of chanting our lineage. I got to a place meditating on this of absolute joy, celebration of so many people, even some strangers, one-time meetings in life that impacted and made a difference in the moment or the many moments that I was in touch with them. Give some thought if you are a solitary practitioner. How solitary are you really? Think about chanting your lineage. I wish you mirth and reverence. Merry part.